Good Thursday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversations Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Well, we made it over the hump when we're in the home stretch toward the weekend. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this Thursday. We have the truth of the day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and in today's entertainment spotlight, he's been part of my conversation with Dr. Todd Breaux of the Cleveland Clinic, talking about how telehealth is helping more men to make sure they're checking in with their doctors. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Thursday headlines. In Mississippi news, while the number of COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations are still high in Mississippi, there is evidence that it's flattening out, the state's epidemiologist said on Wednesday. We have seen some stabilizations and should begin to see some decreases in this as we move into September, Beer said. State Health Officer Dr. Thomas Dobbs said Mississippi is number 2 in the nation per capita in COVID-19 deaths. Mississippi reported 2,939 new COVID-19 cases and 81 additional deaths on Wednesday. Dobbs said 1.2 million Mississippi residents are fully vaccinated and 1.4 million have received at least one dose. Dobbs said the progress the state has made in vaccinations will make a huge difference moving forward. Dobbs also said there has been some good news out of Israel, which shows robust protection from the Delta variant after natural infection. To reiterate, we still strongly recommend that people, even if you have had COVID, go ahead and get vaccinated, Dobbs said. There are great benefits to getting vaccinated, even if you've had COVID before. Dobbs said the vaccine can help people from getting sick and requiring hospitalization, and also protect it from spreading through families. We can't let our guard down, Dobbs said. In national news, U.S. coordination with Taliban on strikes possible, says Milley. Army General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said Wednesday that it's possible the United States will seek to coordinate with the Taliban on counterterrorism strikes in Afghanistan against Islamic State militants or others. Milley did not elaborate, and his comment did not appear to suggest immediate plans to work with the Taliban. U.S. military commanders coordinated daily with Taliban commanders outside the Kabul airport over the past 3 weeks to facilitate the evacuation of more than 124,000 people. But that was a matter of convenience for both parties and not necessarily a sign that they will pursue or even want a regular relationship in the future. The U.S. military ousted the Taliban from power in the fall of 2001 and fought against them for the 19 years that followed. The extent and nature of a U.S.-Taliban relationship, now that the war is over, is one of the key issues to be worked out. The U.S. diplomatic presence in Kabul has been moved to Qatar. President Joe Biden has noted several times recently that the Taliban are avowed enemies of the Islamic State group in Afghanistan, suggesting a shared interest with the U.S. At a Pentagon News conference with Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, Milley called the Taliban ruthless, adding, "Whether or not they change remains to be seen." He suggested that the recent cooperative arrangement with the Taliban at Kabul airport was not necessarily a model for the future. In more national news, Biden meets Ukraine leader and long-sought Oval Office visit. President Joe Biden used his first meeting with a foreign leader since ending the war in Afghanistan to send the message Wednesday that the United States, unburdened of its forever war, is determined to become a more reliable ally to its friends, in this case Ukraine. Biden played host to the Ukrainian president for a long-sought Oval Office meeting and tried to reassure him that his administration remains squarely behind the Eastern European nation. Biden didn't mention Afghanistan in his brief appearance with the Ukrainian president before cameras, but he highlighted his concerns about Russian aggression in the region. Biden, in making his case to end the war in Afghanistan, repeatedly said winding down the 20-year conflict would allow the U.S. to put greater focus on combating acts from adversaries Russia and China. In more national news, Biden to survey Ida's storm damage in Louisiana on Friday. President Joe Biden will visit Louisiana later this week to survey the aftermath of Hurricane Ida and speak with local and state leaders, the White House said on Wednesday. Ida was the 5th most powerful storm to strike the U.S. when it hit Louisiana on Sunday with maximum winds of 150 miles per hour, likely causing tens of billions of dollars in flood, wind, and other damage, including to the electrical grid. More than 1 million homes and businesses in Louisiana, Mississippi were without power after Ida toppled a major transmission tower and knocked out thousands of miles of lines and hundreds of substations. In business news, stocks end with tiny gains, enough to nudge NASDAQ to record. Stocks inched mostly higher on Wednesday, enough to nudge the NASDAQ Composite Index to an all-time high, Markets continue to remain quiet ahead of Friday's jobs report and the Labor Day holiday in the U.S. on Monday. And finally, in entertainment news, Greg Leaks, Nene Leaks' husband, dead at 66 after a battle with cancer. Greg Leaks has died after a battle with colon cancer. He was only 66 years old. Greg was married to former Real Housewives of Atlanta star Nene Leaks. Today, the Leaks family is in deep pain with a broken heart. After a long battle with cancer, Greg Leaks has passed away peacefully in his home, surrounded by all his children, very close loved ones, and wife Nene Leaks. Publicist and family friend Ernest Dukes said in a statement on Wednesday. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's our time for the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. Mary Ellen, take it away.
Hi, this is Mary Ellen with your Truth of the Day. Appreciate your self-worth. You are the only person who can give to yourself a sense of self-worth. Don't allow other people with a low sense of self to bring you down. You are the only person responsible for discovering your unconditional sense of worthiness. Understanding it is not the other person will help you to understand your difficulties are self-imposed. You have the power to see things differently and learn what you need to learn from any situation when dealing with difficult people. At any moment, you are free to choose an improved sense of self. Work hard, find supportive friends, and follow inspiring people. Let go of destructive relationships, whether at work or at home. Have faith in God, knowing you deserve better. Today, appreciate your sense of self-worth by knowing and making good choices as you go about to enjoy the day.
Dr. Todd Breaux of the Cleveland Clinic is featured in today's Entertainment Spotlight, right here on Conversations Daily News. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with the Entertainment Spotlight. Dr. Todd Breaux of the Cleveland Clinic joined me recently on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about how, thanks to telehealth, more men are thinking about their health and how they can start communicating with a doctor. Here's a bit of our conversation. This is the 6th annual Mention It survey from the Cleveland Clinic. Can you kind of talk to us a little bit about the survey, Dr. Breaux, and what it hopes to accomplish?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Mention It campaign is an effort by the Cleveland Clinic to try to get men to talk about their health care issues. You know, we know that early detection through preventative screenings is extremely important in finding disease states in their early and treatable forms when we can do the most about them. And, you know, typically guys are hesitant to see the doc, nervousness about going for one, and two, finding out results. So I'm trying to kind of shift that narrative, get guys comfortable seeing their physician is kind of the goal of the campaign.
I mentioned the surge in virtual visits, Dr. Breaux, especially during the pandemic. How can that trend towards digital health help men in particular?
Yeah, so the numbers you stated earlier are exactly right for the clinic. We've gone from 37,000 virtual visits a few years ago and expect about 20% of all of our visits to be virtual this year, despite having in-person visits back in play. You know, for guys in particular, our survey found that about 30% of men really prefer virtual visits over in-person visits, especially when talking about sensitive issues such as men's sexual health dysfunction. We also found that, not surprisingly, probably about 20 to 25% of guys see their family doc less than once a year or only when they feel like they have to. And some of the reasons for that are, you know, difficulty getting off work, for instance, and just finding the time to see their doc. So virtual visits are certainly more flexible.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning into this edition of Conversations Daily News. We'll have you guys on tomorrow to wrap up this week. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Let's make it a great one.